All right, Fresh, let's go down a little bit further down to I-75 there, the state of Florida. The Florida State Seminoles, they're 11-0. They have a date with Louisville in the ACC title game, but Jordan Travis is out for the year in a grotesque injury. That was a difficult one to watch. Florida and Billy Napier. I mean, Florida's fighting. They were 6-7 last season. The fact to go 6-7 last season and possibly go 5-7 this year, they're fighting for everything. Billy Napier's got to be a desperate man because that seat is scorching hot right now. He loses this game. I know that the old adage is, hey, we got to give coach 3 years to get their players in and get the system in. It may be bye-bye Billy by the end of this game. What you got for me, Fresh, on Florida State? Spread right now is Florida State on the road 6.5. Over under set 50.5.
Look, folks, there's hot. There's Texas hot. There's also Florida August humid swamp hot. And that's about the level right here that Billy Napier's seat is at right now. It is scalding. Um, will Lagway actually decide to end up signing with the Gators or decide to decommit? They've had multiple decommits in the past few weeks to rival programs. For having a huge recruiting staff and having a massive coaching staff, they just continue to go backwards. They are game management is terrible. They have a lot of penalties. They are making dumb, questionable decisions. It's just like, where's the coaching? It all seems like they're just being held back by this coaching staff, actually, because the players haven't actually quit. The way they played versus Mizzou, they played a full game. I got to give the players credit. They could have quit a long time ago on this coaching staff because the coaching staff, between the defense coordinator being clueless and Billy Napier and his weird sometimes calls and timeout usage and whatnot, the players still keep playing. And so that right there's something going in this program where they're still going to play for each other, but maybe not for the coaches. I don't know, but it's a weird dynamic where usually you see the players have already quit by now, and they haven't so far. So that's a statement to whatever's going on there in Gainesville, where at least the players have not quit on their team and on each other. And that's one little dynamic in this football game that might actually spur them to be competitive versus Florida State. Florida State has by far the more talented roster. We're not even going to have that competition because there is no competition. Florida State's roster is ridiculous, but Jordan Travis is the key to that football team, and that the most gut wrenching thing was seeing him go down because I want to see a Florida State football team at full strength in the playoff. I think everybody would want to see them either with whoever they're playing. That would have been a lot of fun to watch. How does this Florida State football team with their backup quarterback come in here, get themselves rallied together, and play at the same level? It's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be a short week. Now you're getting all the reps. How do you perform? Where does this running game come from? Offensive line, defensive line, in a rivalry football game with a lot of emotions, swelling up. How does this how does this come about? You're not playing in Doak Campbell in this football game. You're playing in the swamp. It's going to be a rowdy crowd. It's a rivalry game, and then you go to the ACC title game up there on a neutral site in Charlotte as a backup quarterback, now getting the first team reps. These are first experiences for you. How do you handle it? How do you keep the offense going? I'm sure you can throw the ball, but Jordan Travis, he uses legs. You don't have that same athletic ability, at least we know of, coming forward. So how does Florida use that pass rush to get after that? You don't have to worry about the quarterback breaking the pocket and taking off down the field. You can pin your ears back and go after him and get it. I think the Florida State needs to rely on the running game, take it out of this kid's hands. Let him get comfortable. Do not put the game in his hands. If you do, you might have some bad results, or that also means you're down. You're forced to throw. Run the football, run the football, run the football. Give him easy throws to make. You don't need Coleman. You don't need Johnny Wilson to have 10 catches each for 190 yards and 3 touchdowns. You just need to go out there and beat Florida and survive and get on. Just like we said about Louisville, you have to survive and get to the next week. Hopefully avoid injuries. Don't try to show too much. You don't need to come out here and blow them out. Just survive this football game, get to the ACC title game, because then you still have things ahead of you. An undefeated Florida State, I think, still has a great argument to be in the playoff. A one-loss Florida State, you have no hope whatsoever. Whether it's this week or Louisville, it's done. You have to come in here and just get it done, take care of business, be smart. Do not let the emotions get ahead of you. Play for your fallen teammate, but do not let the emotions get too much of you. Florida, play for each other. Graham Mertz on your end, he's not playing this ballgame. You're working with a backup quarterback too. Run the football, run the football, run the football, play action to Pearsall. That's all you can really. That's all you really have. That's what you have to focus on. ECN should have a big game. Get him involved early. Get him involved often. Get the ball to Pearsall. Florida State might want to triple cover him. Take him out. There's no real other true option, in my opinion, for Florida in that passing game. Florida State, you should be dominating the line of scrimmage. You have the better offensive line and defensive line. If you are not, that is a major red flag for not just the ACC title game, but going forward in the playoff. Because whoever you play, you're going to have a ball game in the trenches. If you do not dominate Florida in the trenches, you will have serious issues in 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 weeks from now, whenever those matchups do come down the road. Do not overlook the Gators. Come in there and silence them early. Do not let that Gator crowd stay around. It's a night game in the swamp. It's a big rivalry game. Sometimes Florida State, you've been the lesser team. Big time Florida teams have come up to Tallahassee. You fought out. You had resilient efforts, and you couldn't get it done. But the crowd made a difference and made it a ball game. This is gonna be the exact same scenario on the flip side. Florida's the down and out team. They're playing desperate. They need to get to a bowl game. They're 5-6. They're going to let it all hang out. Expect craziness. Expect weird trick plays, and also expect Billy Napier to make some bad decisions that are going to help you out. Take advantage of those bad decisions. Do not let them off the leash. If you do, you might pay for it and your season could slip away. Do not let the season slip away. Play for Jordan Travis. If anything in the world might mean something to you, play for Jordan Travis. If that means holding it one more and not getting a false start, play for Jordan Travis. You owe him that much, and he's done it for you. Do it for him. Do not lose this game to Florida. If you're going to lose, if it does happen, unfortunately, I'd rather have you lose to Louisville than Florida, because a loss to Florida, giving them bragging rights, letting them to a bowl game, and having your season slip away and your championship for a playoff chip opportunity slip away would be terribly painful. Go out there, get after it early, take care of business, settle it up, let the backups play, and then focus on Louisville. Dominate the line of scrimmage. Do not let the Gators get a hold, or you'll be in for a long night. In the end, I think Florida State, if they're going to start out slow a little bit, but Florida State will find their footing later on in that football game. They will win 31-17. They'll put it away. It'll be a slow start, but Florida State, eventually the quarterbacks, the offense, they'll get the rhythm going, and they will take advantage in the second half and dominate the Gators.
Fresh, it's very difficult for me not to take a victory lap on what I have said this past year about the Florida Gators. And I look at what Billy Napier's done to the Gators there, and you take a look at just the offensive line play. Graham Mertz is out for the rest of the year based on taking 31 sacks on the year. Now, Graham Mertz, people know how I feel about him as a quarterback. He's not good. I think he was getting a lot of garbage time touchdowns and a lot of garbage time yardage and stuff. He complete passes, but wasn't really making the team better, and especially sitting at 6-5. But you look at what you still have, and the Gators are still dangerous in this game, especially to Florida State. You take a look at what Max Brown did. He offers a little bit different of a type of quarterback play. He is more of a dual threat quarterback than Graham Mertz was. But Graham Mertz was probably a little bit more of a better passer overall, better pocket presence. He popped into a game. Missouri didn't have any film on Max Brown. He kind of caught them by surprise. Florida State's going to have a whole week to kind of prepare for this kid and see what he's able to do. It's got to be Johnson Etienne if Florida's going to want to win this game. You're at home. You're in the swamp. Run the football. Run the football, run the football, run the football. Run quarterback draws, run the football. You run these kids into the ground if you have to in that piece, because this is your season. This is everything that comes down to. There is no tomorrow for the Florida Gators. There is no tomorrow for Billy Napier at Florida if he loses this game. This is going to be a really dangerous Florida team because they have nothing to lose in this situation. Florida State, you have everything to lose. Last week, you lost your starting quarterback, who was really the straw that serves the drink. Tate Rodemaker is going to be the starter for this football game. He is going to need to lean heavily on Trey Benson. You're going to have to make smart throws. Keon Coleman's been the best transfer player this season. He's just been absolutely phenomenal. He's a matchup nightmare. You still got a great wide receiver over on the other side, Johnny Wilson. Bell, the tight end, He's not a bad player either. You got some nice targets out there for him. And I need to see Roadmaker you be able to hit those targets. Uh, you played Northern Alabama. Come on. This is going to be a tough one for Florida State. I'm worried that the pressure is going to get to them. I'm really, really worried. I don't think Florida wins this football game as much as I think Florida State loses this football game. I think while fresh, you're right. I really hope the Seminoles can get behind a plane for Jordan Travis. I really do. Because I'd rather see the Seminoles win this football game. But I know how devastating that was to lose Jordan Travis. And that's respect to what Jordan Travis is able to do. I think that Florida State is walking into the swamp as a wounded animal, and the Gators are going to get him on that one. I think Billy Napier still is going to wind up losing his job this year. I don't think that he is going to be the head coach of the Florida Gators. 6-7 and 6-6 and going to a bowl game is not acceptable in Gainesville. Like you went to this from Dan Mullen, who was much better at Florida than Billy Napier. This is unacceptable. Florida should be one of the marquee jobs in the SEC, and it's not. It's not. It's a joke of a program right now. They have talent there, but it's not good enough to win games. It's not good enough to be competitive in the East. And you talk to a Gators fan, and they think that every year they're going to be competing for the SEC title. Folks, those days are long gone. Like, those are long gone football days. Those are days of yesteryear and days of yore. I, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Florida. It sucks. It's a hard truth to admit. And I would not be shocked to see fans go, well, that's not true. And they'll point something out to me. And I'll be like, right, I get it. If I was a fan, I would be arguing the complete opposite as well. I think Florida wins this football game. I think Florida State's going to lose it. I think that it's just a tough road to hoe for them. Johnson and ETM, one of them is going to have a huge game in this one, breakout game. I think that Florida is going to keep the ball on the ground. I would say they run the ball 50 times in this game. Give me Florida by a field goal in it, though.
I mean, if Florida can pull it off, does it? I'm just gonna say this right now. I know we both have our opinions on the Gators, and I think they have some talented players, but they definitely have a depleted roster. If he wins this game, is this like a false positive where it's a false hope? Like, oh, we got to finally turn around, but you're not playing a true FSU football team. Um, does it set up a
Joke.
false narrative for the offseason? Like, oh, we beat them. We're back. We got it turned around. I think it actually sends the wrong message.
Right.
Um, I think it'd be great to have the bragging rights, but you're then setting yourself up for the future of, well, now we're supposed to beat Florida State. So if we're terrible next year, what does that say about our team?
The problem is if it gets Billy Napier another year. I mean, it might be better to lose this football game to get Billy Napier out of there, get a better coach in, and not the same. Billy Napier probably is a fairly nice guy and probably a fairly decent football coach. Probably knows way more about football than I do, but he's not the coach for Florida. He's not the coach for the SEC. This is a guy who I believe is overmatched for the situation, and I don't really know who Florida's going to attract either. This could be a a long road to hoe, and you might need to really rip the Band-Aid off and take your time for a true rebuild that may take many years to do. I mean, look at what Texas went through. Look what the school in Ann Arbor went through. Look what Virginia Tech is going through. There's a lot of once proud programs that, hey, guess what? The wheels fall off.
Yeah.
Happens.
And you got to make the right call. And sometimes, get rid of the decision now as opposed to another year. 30 mil for a buyout. Sometimes you have to suck it up and own up to the mistake and dump them.
Yeah.